I used to believe memories were gentle things, soft-edged, faded photographs tucked into drawers. But the older I get, the more I understand that memories have weight. They sit on your chest at night. They whisper when the house is quiet. They wait. My name is Alina Brooks, and this story begins on a Tuesday morning that smelled like burnt toast and rain. I was 72 years old, standing barefoot in my kitchen in Cedar Falls, Iowa, staring at a letter I had no business receiving. The envelope was cream-colored, thick, expensive. My full name was typed neatly across the front, including my middle initial, something only banks, lawyers, or people who'd known me a very long time ever used. There was no return address, just a postmark from Boston, Boston. My hand shook as I slid it open with the butter knife I used for everything these days. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a photograph. The paper held only one sentence. "He's dead. I thought you should know." The photograph slid out and landed face up on the counter. I knew that face. I hadn't seen it in 47 years, but I knew it as well as I knew my own. Older, heavier, the hair thinned and gray, but the eyes were the same. Dark, watchful, the kind of eyes that made you feel seen even when you were trying very hard to disappear. My knees gave out. I sat hard in the kitchen chair, the wood biting into my thighs, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure the neighbors could hear it through the walls. Thomas Avery. Tom, the man I had loved once, the man I had run from, the man whose name I had buried so deeply inside myself that I'd convinced myself it no longer mattered. And now, according to a single sentence typed by an unknown hand, he was dead. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt dread. Because dead men don't send messages, and memories don't resurface unless they want something. 3 days earlier, my granddaughter Lily had called me in tears. "Grandma, I don't know who I am anymore," she said, her voice breaking through the phone. "I feel like everything I believed was a lie." I'd told her the same thing I told myself whenever life cracked open. Sit down, breathe. The truth always arrives before the healing. I just hadn't expected the truth to come knocking on my own door. By that afternoon, the letter was still sitting on my kitchen counter, and I was still pretending not to look at it. I folded laundry I didn't need to fold. I watered plants that were already drowning. I watched a cooking show without absorbing a single word. Every few minutes, my eyes drifted back to the photograph. Dead, my mind whispered. But I remembered his voice too clearly. Remembered the way he used to say my name like it was something precious. Remembered the night I left him without a goodbye. Remembered the secret I took with me. By evening, the rain had turned into a steady drum against the windows. I poured myself a glass of wine, something I rarely did alone, and finally picked the photo back up. On the back, in faint pencil, were four words. June 14, 1978, my breath caught. That was the night everything ended. I was 24 that summer, newly married, newly miserable. I lived in a narrow brick apartment in Boston with my husband, Richard Brooks, a man my parents adored and I barely knew. He was reliable, sensible, safe. That's what everyone said, and at the time, I believed safety was the same thing as happiness. Tom lived 2 floors below us. He was a law student then, all ambition and restless energy. He smoked too much, laughed too loudly, and asked questions that made people uncomfortable, including me. We met in the stairwell one evening when the power went out. I was balancing a laundry basket on my hip, cursing under my breath when a lighter flared in the darkness. "You're going to trip," a man's voice said. And I'd hate to be responsible for a broken neck. "I can manage," I snapped. The lighter rose, illuminating his face, those eyes, that crooked smile. "I'm Tom," he said, "and you are?" "Married," I said, stepping past him. He laughed, not offended. "That wasn't the question." I told him my name anyway. I wish I hadn't. The present snapped back into focus with a knock at my door. I nearly screamed. It was only Mrs. Kaplan from next door, holding a misdelivered package and apologizing profusely. I smiled, thanked her, closed the door, and leaned my forehead against it until my pulse slowed. That was the first micro crack in my carefully ordered life. The second came that night when my phone rang at 11:47 p.m., unknown number. I stared at it until the ringing stopped. Then a text, "You got the letter." I didn't respond. Another text came seconds later, "I know you did." Alina always opened her mail immediately. My fingers felt numb. "Who is this?" I typed. The reply took longer this time. "Someone who knows what you left behind." I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I booked a flight to Boston. I told my daughter it was for a medical checkup. That was a lie, but not entirely. Something in me had been aching for years, and maybe this was finally the diagnosis. On the plane, memories spilled out whether I wanted them to or not. Tom and I became friends first. Coffee in the mornings, long conversations on the front steps at night. He never asked about my marriage, and I never offered. We talked about books, about regrets, about the lives we thought we'd have by 30. "You're lonely," he said to me once like it was a fact. "So are you," I replied. "Yes," he said, "but I admit it." That honesty undid me. The affair didn't begin with a kiss. It began with understanding, with the feeling of being known. With laughter that came too easily. By the time we crossed the line, it felt inevitable. By the time I realized I was pregnant, it was too late. Boston looked smaller when I arrived, older, like it had been waiting for me. I checked into a modest hotel near the old apartment building, my heart thudding harder with every step through familiar streets. The building was still there, the bricks darker, the windows newer, but the stairwell, God, the stairwell was the same. I stood at the bottom, gripping the railing, and for a moment I was 24 again, terrified and in love and trapped. My phone buzzed. Apartment 3C tomorrow. Noon, no name, no explanation. I should have walked away. Instead, I texted back. Who are you? The reply came instantly. I'm the reason the past didn't stay buried. I spent the night pacing my hotel room, replaying the night of June 14, 1978, the night I told Tom I was leaving. I can't do this anymore, ID said, tears streaming down my face. I'm pregnant. His face had gone white, then hopeful, then confused. It's mine, he whispered. I nodded. We can fix this, he said. Will? No, I said. You don't understand. I'm already gone. I left before he could say anything else. I left before I could change my mind. Richard never questioned the timing, never questioned the baby's dark eyes or restless nature. He loved our son in his own quiet way. And Tom. Never saw him again until now. At noon the next day, I stood outside apartment 3C. My hand hovered over the doorbell. Inside that apartment, something waited for me. Someone. I took a breath and knocked. The door opened to a woman in her early 40s with my eyes, and Tom S. I've been waiting a long time to meet you, she said softly. I'm your daughter. The world tilted. I don't remember falling, but I remember the sound my body made when it hit the hallway wall. Not dramatic. Not cinematic, just a dull, human thud. The woman, my daughter, caught my arm before I slid all the way down. Her grip was firm, practiced, like she'd done this before with people who received truths they weren't ready for. Easy, she said, I've got you. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were searching my face, reading every crack opening across it. My mouth moved, but no sound came out. My heart was racing so fast I thought it might split me open. That's not possible. She gave a small, sad smile. That's usually the first thing people say. People, not mother, not yet. She guided me inside the apartment. It was neat, minimal. A bookshelf, a small dining table, framed photographs on the walls, no clutter, no softness, a life built with intention. I sat on the edge of the couch, my hands shaking in my lap. What's your name? I asked. Claire, she said. Claire Avery. Avery. She said it carefully, like she wanted me to hear it. I was adopted, she continued, sitting across from me. Closed adoption. I didn't know anything until 3 years ago when I found documents in my adoptive mother's storage unit after she passed. I swallowed hard. And Tom, I asked. He's really gone, her jaw tightened. He died 6 weeks ago, heart attack, sudden. The room felt smaller. I didn't know, I whispered. I know, she said. That's why I sent the letter. I looked at her properly then, the curve of her mouth. The way she held herself upright, guarded, strong. I didn't come for money, she said, as if reading my thoughts, or answers about why you gave me up. I figured that part out on my own. My chest ached. Then why? I asked. She leaned forward, elbows on her knees. Because before he died, my father asked me to find you. Father, the word landed between us like a fragile bridge. He told me everything, she continued. About the affair, about the night you left. About how he loved you until the day he died. Tears blurred my vision. He never married, she added quietly. Did you know that? I shook my head. He tried, she said. Once it didn't last. He said he already gave his heart away. I pressed my hand to my mouth, a sob breaking free before I could stop it. I thought leaving was the right thing, I said through tears. I thought I was protecting everyone. I know, Claire said. He knew too. He never blamed you. Silence stretched between us, thick with everything we'd lost. Finally, she stood and walked to the bookshelf, pulling out a worn leather journal. He wrote this for you, she said, placing it gently in my hands. He didn't know if you'd ever read it, but he wanted the truth to exist somewhere. My fingers traced the cracked cover. Take your time, she said. I'll make tea. I stayed in Boston for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of conversations that peeled me open and stitched me back together at the same time. Claire and I walked the city, trading pieces of our lives like careful offerings. She told me about her childhood, loving parents, stability, no shortage of affection. I told her about the fear that had guided so many of my choices. I don't hate you, she said one evening as we sat by the Charles River. I was angry once, but not anymore. I hate myself enough for both of us, I replied. She shook her head. You don't get to carry all of that alone anymore. I read Tom's journal late at night in my hotel room. Every page felt like a conversation interrupted decades ago. He wrote about me, about the baby, about the life he imagined but never lived. And then near the end, a line that stole my breath. If she ever comes back, I hope she forgives herself. On my last day in Boston, Claire walked me to the airport. I don't know what this means, I said. Us? It means we're honest, she replied. And we go slow. She hesitated, then hugged me. I held her like I'd waited a lifetime to. Back home in Iowa, my house felt different, quieter, but lighter. I told my son the truth, all of it. He sat in silence for a long time, then asked, Did he love you? Yes, I said, very much. He nodded, then I'm glad he existed. That night I called Lily. Grandma, she said, you sound different. I am, I replied. I remembered who I was. Months passed, Claire visited. Then again, slowly we learned each other, not as strangers, not as replacements, but as two women connected by a love that never truly died. And now, when people ask me why I tell stories, why I insist that memories matter, I smile, because the past doesn't come back to haunt us. It comes back to be healed. And sometimes, if we're brave enough to open the door, it gives us back what we thought we'd lost forever.